So today I want to talk about what's called art through adversity, which is just the idea is basically this preconceived notion that great art comes from great struggle. And I'm here to say that that's not always true. Sometimes people make great art on accident. Sometimes they're able to make great art without struggle. It's much rarer, but it does happen. But what I want to talk about specifically is my personal experience with this idea of art through adversity. And that's that I feel like adversity in this sense for me oftentimes manifests in I have a streak of videos I don't feel were as great as they could. I never put out a video I thought was bad. I've always had confidence in my videos somewhat, but then after they go out, I start reconsidering and thinking, maybe that's not as good as I thought it was before I released it. And that just happens. The important thing for me is that I don't go back on what I made and try to pretend it didn't happen, and as in trying to erase it from existence. I try not to do that. When I'm in those situations, what I find helps me most to, in a sense, come back from that slump I'm experiencing in my work is to take a step back, think about where my priorities have been lately in my work, and try to reevaluate if that's where I should be, and then really focus on putting my heart, mind, and mostly soul into what I'm making next. And I try to make that next work specifically reflect to where I am at that moment that I've been led to through what I had recently made. I'm trying to keep the thread here going, but I understand if this becomes a bit convoluted and confusing. What I'm trying to say is that when I find myself in a slump, I try to evaluate what has gotten me into that slump in my artistic process, and then use my next piece, my next work, to examine that, as in meaning make the meaning of my next work reflect that and what I need to do differently. And that way, it's also ensuring that that next work means something to me, because oftentimes what leads me to those slumps is feeling like what I've made had less meaning or was meaningless to me. And I'll tell you, there's no worse feeling I get in doing all of this than when I feel like I put out a bad video. When I feel like I put out a bad video, I actually get bummed out about it for days and sometimes even weeks. It's really important to me that I'm putting everything I can into my work. But that funk that I find myself in, I find oftentimes is the driving force that leads me to push myself further and make something better than I have before or thought I could before. Because when I'm in that place, it pushes me into a corner in a sense that makes me feel like I have the need more than ever to prove myself, not only to those watching my content, those around me, my peers and stuff, but to myself. Ultimately, someone's body of work, their art, is representative of them. It's a very vulnerable thing, obviously. And I guess I get so down in the dumps about it when I feel like I haven't done my best, because I feel like since my art reflects me, it's reflecting me as being lazy or me not putting all the effort I should be into what I'm doing. And when you're not putting the effort you should into your own hobbies, you're in trouble. While art ultimately exposes who you are, I try to use it myself, not only to do that, but that's inherent. Not only to expose who I am, but to project who I want to be in an honest way, in an, again, vulnerable way. So I guess my thesis, my message, the ultimate meaning I have with this video is to always push yourself, and do not let those slumps in your creative endeavors deter you from continuing to go. Let it make you better. Let it bring you to a place where you're going to push yourself harder and bring you to new heights. It might take a while, it might be quicker, but put in the time and eventually you will get results.